Okay, so people are talking about you right now, and I need you to hear exactly what they are saying, because it is not what you think, and it is not what whoever started this wanted it to be. There is a conversation happening, maybe more than one conversation. In spaces you are not in, between people you may or may not know well, your name is coming up. And I know that sentence alone might make something in you tighten up, because being talked about when you are not there to control the narrative is one of the most uncomfortable feelings a person can have. It triggers something ancient in us, the fear of being misrepresented, of having your story told by someone who does not know it fully, or who has a reason to tell it wrong. And I want you to sit with that discomfort for just a moment before I tell you what Spirit is actually showing me. Because what is being said about you in those rooms, in those conversations, in those quiet exchanges where your name is landing with a new kind of weight, it is not what the person who started this intended it to be. Not even close. The story escaped them, and the way it escaped them is one of the most satisfying things I have been shown in a reading in a long time. Who started it and why? Let me be direct about this. Because the energy is direct, and I am just going to follow it. There is a specific person, or in some cases, a small specific group, who put your name into circulation. And they did not do it out of admiration or neutral observation. They did it with an agenda. They took something about you, something about your situation, something about what happened between you and them, or what they observed about your life, and they introduced it into their social network with a framing that was designed to work against you, designed to position you in a particular light, designed to shift how certain people think about you in a way that would benefit the person doing the talking. And I want to be specific about the kind of thing this person wanted to accomplish, because I think naming it accurately is important. They wanted to make you look small, or unstable, or difficult, or like someone who cannot be trusted, or who is too much, or who caused a problem that was actually their problem to begin with. They wanted to introduce doubt about you into the minds of people who might otherwise be in your corner. They wanted to get ahead of a narrative, maybe because they knew something was coming that would reflect poorly on them, and they were trying to preemptively shape how it would be received. Or maybe simply because your existence in your current form is threatening to them in some way, and destabilizing that existence felt like the only move available. Whatever the specific motivation, the intent was clear, and it was not kind. They put your name out there as a warning in the wrong direction. As in warning, here is someone to be cautious about, here is someone who is problematic, here is a version of this person that positions me favorably by comparison. That was the plan. And I want to tell you what happened to that plan. The misfire, okay, so here is where this gets interesting, and I want you to really pay attention to this part, because I think it is going to feel like the exhale you have been waiting for. The person who started this conversation, they miscalculated something fundamental. They miscalculated the people they were talking to. They assumed that the version of you they were presenting would be received as the accurate version. They assumed that their read of you, their framing of what happened, their positioning of themselves as the reasonable party, and you as the problematic one, they assumed that would land cleanly and without question. But here is what they did not account for. The people they were talking to already have their own observations about you, their own stored up assessments, their own moments of having been in your presence, and formed their own impressions completely independently of what this person was now telling them. And when the story arrived, when the framing was offered, when the version of events designed to diminish you was presented, something did not add up for the people receiving it. The story did not match what they already knew. The characterization did not fit the person they had already observed. And when a story does not match what you already know, you do not just accept the story. You start asking questions. You start examining the person telling the story. You start looking more carefully at whose account makes more sense, given everything you have already seen with your own eyes. And that examination, that natural, inevitable process of people running the offered narrative against their own stored knowledge, did not go the way the original teller intended. Because your actual reputation built from actual interactions and actual moments and actual behavior that people have observed over time, was stronger than the version being presented. The truth about who you are was already in the room before this person arrived with their version of events. And their version could not overwrite what was already there. So instead of confirming what the teller wanted confirmed, the conversation opened something up. People started talking not just about what they were being told, but about what they already knew. And what they already knew was different. What they already knew was wait. That does not sound right. That does not match the person I have seen. That does not line up with what I have observed. And that friction between the presented version and the known version is what caused the story to escape the teller's control and start moving in a direction they absolutely did not intend. What people are actually saying, let me tell you what is actually being said now, because I think you need to hear this specifically. The conversation that started as an attempt to damage your reputation has turned into a conversation about your character. And not in the way the original teller meant. People are talking about the way you handled something. People are talking about the fact that you did not fold when you were expected to. People are remembering moments when they watched you absorb something that was not fair and stay composed about it. People are connecting dots that they had stored individually and are only now placing in relation to each other. And the picture that is emerging from those connected dots is not the picture the gossip was designed to create. What is spreading now, what is genuinely moving through your network, through your circles, through the spaces where your name is being said, is a revised assessment of you. An upward revision. People who had a general sense of who you are now arriving at a sharper, more specific, more impressed version of that sense. People who did not know you well are getting an introduction that is not the one that was planned for them. People who may have had a neutral or even slightly uncertain read on you are landing somewhere much more definitive. And the definition they are landing on is this is someone you do not play with. Not as a threat, not as a warning, as a statement of respect, as an acknowledgement that you are someone who knows their own worth and has demonstrated it in a way that people cannot ignore now that their attention has been drawn to it. The gossip is spreading. But what is spreading is not what they thought they were sending. The person who started it is watching this backfire. Okay, I want to talk about the person who started this, because there is an energy around them right now that I feel I need to describe for you honestly. They are uncomfortable. And not just mildly uncomfortable, genuinely unsettled. Because they are watching something happen that they did not plan for and cannot stop. They set something in motion expecting a particular outcome, and the outcome that is materializing is almost the exact opposite of what they intended. And that is a specific kind of helplessness that is very difficult to sit with. They are trying to manage it, trying to do damage control in a situation where damage control is harder than it would have been if they had just said nothing. Because every additional thing they say now draws more attention to the situation and more attention to their role in it. Every attempt to clarify or add context or adjust the narrative just makes the original telling look more calculated by comparison. They are in a position where the best available move is to say nothing and stop talking and let it go. And that is enormously difficult for someone who started this because they felt a need to control how you were being perceived. Staying quiet is the opposite of what their instinct is telling them to do. But speaking is making it worse, and they are becoming aware of that in real time. I want to say something about this person that I think is important and that I do not want to leave out. What they did was calculated, and it was not kind, and it came from a place of genuine insecurity about what you represent and what your existence near them says about them. But I also want to name clearly that they are not powerful. People who need to talk about others in private to manage their own position are not operating from a place of power. They are operating from a place of fear. Fear that your actual story, told accurately, makes their story look worse. Fear that the people around them will see the comparison and draw the obvious conclusion. Fear that you simply by existing and being who you are, expose something about them that they would rather keep unexposed. The gossip was fear wearing the costume of social maneuvering. And now the fear is visible in a way it was not before. What you did that made this happen okay, now I want to talk about you. About what you did or what you stopped doing that created this situation in the first place. Because none of this happened in a vacuum. None of this was random. There was a moment. Maybe it was dramatic. Maybe it was quiet. Maybe it was something you barely thought of as significant in the moment you did it. But there was a specific moment when you did something different from what you had been doing. When you responded differently than this person and possibly others had learned to expect from you. You stopped absorbing. You stopped making things comfortable for people who were not making things comfortable for you. You stopped performing patience you did not feel in order to keep a dynamic smooth that was not actually smooth. You stopped making yourself smaller to accommodate someone who was not reciprocating that consideration. You stopped giving the benefit of the doubt to behavior that had stopped deserving it. And you made that shift not with a dramatic speech or a public confrontation or anything that announced itself as significant. You just stopped. You drew a line. You held it. You did not explain it more than necessary. You did not perform your reasoning for an audience. You simply became unavailable for something that you had previously been tolerating. And that unavailability, that quiet, firm, unapologetic unavailability, is what landed differently than anything this person had encountered from you before. They expected the usual response. They expected the version of you that smooths things over, that gives another chance, that absorbs the impact and finds a way to move forward without making it a thing. They did not get that version. They got the version that has been through enough to know when something is not worth absorbing anymore. The version that has learned the difference between patience as a strength and patience as a form of self-abandonment. The version that can look at a situation clearly and say no. Not this time. Not anymore. And mean it without needing anyone to validate that it was the right call. And that version of you was new information for this person. They did not have a plan for that version. And the scramble to manage the situation, the gossip, the narrative, the framing that scramble, is a direct result of them not knowing what to do with a version of you they did not expect and were not prepared for. The people who already knew there is something else happening in this energy that I want to name, because I think it is going to matter to you more than the vindication piece in some ways. There are people in your life, in your actual life, your real circles. The people who have been around you with some consistency over time, who are not surprised by anything that is coming out right now. Not by the gossip, not by the situation that generated it, not by the way it is resolving. They have been watching. They have had their own private assessments of the situation and of the people involved. They have been aware, on some level, of dynamics that you may not have realized were visible to people outside of them. And they have been waiting, in their own quiet way, for the reality of the situation to become undeniable to anyone who was still choosing not to see it clearly. These people are not saying, "I told you so." That is not the energy. The energy is more like a quiet settling, a private acknowledgement between themselves and their own read of the situation. The satisfaction of having been accurate about something that is now playing out exactly as they understood it would. These are people who have been in your corner in a way you may not have fully registered, because they did not make noise about it. They did not announce their loyalty. They just maintained it, held it privately and consistently, and without requiring your acknowledgement of it. And right now, those people are the ones in various conversations who are not being moved by the version of you the gossip is trying to present, because their version was already formed and already settled, and this new information is not touching it. I want you to know those people exist. I want you to know that your actual reputation, the one built from real interactions and real behavior over real time, is more solid than the gossip can reach. And the people who hold that real version of you are doing more for you in this moment than you know. What this is doing to your position, okay? So here is what I want to be direct about. Because I think sometimes readings stay too vague in the practical section, and I want to be specific. What is happening right now, all of this that I have described, the misfire, the conversation shifting, the people recalibrating, is changing your position in your social landscape in a way that is going to have real and lasting effects, not temporary effects, not the kind of shift that resolves itself in a few days and goes back to how things were. A genuine, durable repositioning. People are going to approach you differently going forward. Not all people, not every person in every context, but the people who matter in your circles, the people whose perception of you has weight, those people are landing somewhere new in their read of you and they are not going back. The person who intended to shrink your position has inadvertently expanded it. The attempt to make you look like someone to be cautious about has resulted in you being understood as someone to be respected. Those are not the same thing, and the difference matters enormously. Caution keeps people at a wary distance. Respect draws people in. Respect makes people want to be in your corner. Respect makes people reconsider how they have been showing up in relation to you, and whether that showing up has been adequate given who you actually are. And this is the part I want you to really absorb. You did not campaign for this. You did not manage it or strategize it or perform your way into it. You did not make arguments about your own character or go around preemptively defending yourself or work to control the narrative. You just were who you are. You held a line when it needed to be held. You refused to absorb what did not belong to you. And the result of that, the organic, unmanaged, completely authentic result of you simply being the fullest version of yourself, is this: people knowing not to play with you. Not because you threatened anyone, not because you made noise, but because your actual self, encountered directly and without the softening you used to provide, turned out to be something that commands respect in a way that surprised even the people who thought they already knew you. What you do not need to do, I want to spend a moment on this, because I feel strongly that it matters, and I do not want to skip it. Now that you know this is happening, now that you know your name is in circulation, and the conversation is moving, and people are arriving at new assessments of who you are, there is going to be a temptation. The temptation to participate, to weigh in, to make sure your version of events is the one that is heard, to reach out to specific people and have specific conversations designed to ensure that your side of the story is represented correctly in the rooms you are not in. Do not do it. I mean that practically, and I mean it energetically. The single most powerful thing you can do right now is exactly what you have already been doing. Nothing. Continuing to be yourself without adjustment, without announcement, without performing anything for anyone's benefit. Because the reason the gossip misfired is that your actual reputation was already doing the work before the gossip arrived. Your actual behavior, your actual character, your actual way of showing up over time that was already in the room. And it was enough to hold its ground against a curated narrative that had an agenda behind it. That actual reputation does not need your help right now. It does not need you to supplement it with explanations or justifications or carefully managed conversations. It is handling things. And the best thing you can do is stay out of its way and let it continue handling things without you muddying the water by looking like you are trying to manage the situation. The person who started this is scrambling. You are settled, and that difference is visible. And the visibility of that difference is one of the most powerful things working in your favor right now. Do not close that gap by becoming someone who is also scrambling. Stay settled. Stay quiet. Stay exactly who you are. Let the story continue moving the way it is moving. Because the direction it is moving is already working for you, and it does not need your intervention to keep going. What this confirms about your journey, okay? I want to say one more thing before I close this out, and it is the thing I think Spirit most wants you to take from this reading, beyond the vindication and beyond the practical advice. What is happening right now, all of it is confirmation of something that has been true about your journey for a while, but that you have not always had external evidence for. You have been becoming someone, quietly, without applause, without anyone necessarily noticing in real time, without the process being visible or acknowledged while it was happening. You have been doing the internal work of figuring out who you are and what you will accept and what you will not accept, and where your line is, and what it costs you to abandon yourself in order to keep others comfortable. You have been going through the unsexy, unglamorous, largely private process of growing into a version of yourself that has a backbone, that knows its worth, that can hold a position without needing external validation that the position is correct. And that process, all of that quiet internal becoming, does not always produce visible results in the moment it is happening. It can feel thankless. It can feel like you are doing all of this work and nothing is changing and nobody is noticing, and maybe you are wrong about what you are building toward. And then something like this happens. Not something you planned or engineered or made happen through strategy. Something that happened because of who you have become, naturally and without performance, in the organic course of your life. And the effect of that something rippling outward into your circles and producing this result, people talking about you with a new kind of respect, a new kind of weight behind your name, a new awareness of who they are actually dealing with when they deal with you. That is the visible evidence of the invisible work paying off. This is what it looks like when the work lands. Not always in the way you imagined, not always through the channel you expected, but real and undeniable and reaching into spaces you did not reach into yourself. You did not have to go into those rooms. Your reputation walked in on its own. And what it said when it got there is exactly what you would have wanted it to say if you had been there to say it yourself. Drop something in the comments right now, because this reading has energy and I want to know who is here for it. Tell me if you felt this. Tell me if you already sensed something was being said in rooms you were not in. Tell me if this is a specific person or a specific situation that immediately came to mind when you pressed play. Because I read the comments, and the people who show up for readings like this one deserve to be acknowledged. Share this with someone who has been going through something where their character was being questioned by people who do not have the full story. Because sometimes the most important thing to hear is that the truth is already working on your behalf, even when you cannot see it happening. Your name is in those rooms, and the way it is landing the weight behind it, the new respect in how people are saying it, the revised assessment that is spreading through your circles right now, that is yours. You built that. Not today. Over time. Through every moment you chose yourself when it would have been easier not to. That is what people know now. And now that they know it, they will not forget it.